All right, you guys, so this is example 1 of lesson 4.5, and in this case, we want to go ahead and factor the expression as a product of two binomials. So in this case, we have the expression of an x squared minus a 9. Each time we're factoring a quadratic expression or just any expression, you always want to go ahead and check for any GCFs, and this is just for us to make our life simpler. So in this case, I do have a 1 in front, it's invisible. And then I have the -9. Any number in common in this case that we could divide both of them by would be a 1, but it's not going to make a difference, so then there's no GCF here. So my next step in this case is to move on to the diamond method. And with the diamond method in this case, we want to go ahead and identify A, B, and C. Now in this case, guys, A represents the number in front of the x squared. Number in front of the x squared in this case would be a 1. B in this case represents our x coefficient. Now in this case, if we take a look at this here, we only have two terms. So we're actually missing our middle term because we're missing the x coefficient. We're going to go ahead and leave B as 0. And in this case, C represents our constant, which in this case is a -9. So let's go ahead and build our diamond here. And in our diamond, we have A times C. On the bottom, we have a B. A times C in this case would be 1 times a -9, which is -9, and our value for B is 0. So in this case, we're looking for two numbers that multiply to a -9 and at the same time multiply to a 0. In this case, those two numbers would be a -3 and a 3. Now, in this case, we do want to go ahead and check if we need to do some grouping here. If we take a look at our leading coefficient or our A value, in this case, that is a 1. Since our leading coefficient here is a 1, we're pretty much done with factoring. So in this case, I would basically be dividing my terms here by x. So our final answer here should be as follows. X minus a 3 times x plus a 3. Or, because you could rewrite this in a different way, it could also be x plus a 3 times x minus a 3. All right, and that's our answer for that first one. All right, so that's example 1. Now let's go ahead and take a look at example 2 here. And in this case, once again, we're doing the same process here, but now we have a y squared minus a 25. Once again, using different variables doesn't change the method on how we work on it. So it's the same idea, just instead of x, we're going to be writing y. Once again, checking for any GCFs. We have a leading coefficient of 1 and 25. So really, there's no GCF there aside from 1. So let's go ahead and move on and identify A, B, and C. A in this case represents our leading coefficient or the number in front of the y squared, which in this case is a 1. B represents the x coefficient, which is the number in front of the x. In this case, we don't have an x, so we'll just make that a 0. And C in this case represents the constant, which is the number that's by itself, which is a -25. So let's go ahead and build our diamond once again. On top, we have A times C. On the bottom, we have B. So A times C is -25. B in this case is a 0. Goal in this case is to find two numbers that multiply to a -25 and add up to a 0. In this case, those two numbers for us would be a 5 and a -5. Once again, 5 times a -5 gives us 25. 5 minus 5 is a 0. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at our A value. In this case, since A is equal to a 1, we're pretty much done with factoring. So, I'm just going to put these over x and write my answer on the bottom. So, down here, answer should be x plus 5 or x times x minus 5. It's a 5, by the way. Or we could do x minus a 5 times x plus a 5. And that's our final answer. Any of these two, it doesn't have to be both, but any of these two would be a final answer.